The cold bit through Tanya Brooks' red wool coat like tiny needles, each gust of wind a fresh assault on her already numb face. She checked her phone for the 100th time. Dead. Completely dead. Just like her hope that Brandon would actually show up. 11:47 p.m. She had been standing outside Marcello's, the fancy Italian restaurant with the soft golden light spilling from its windows, since 8:30. 3 hours and 17 minutes of waiting, watching couples walk past her, whispering to each other, probably wondering why a woman was standing alone in a snowstorm looking so desperate. Her mascara had started running around hour 2. She could feel the sticky tracks on her cheeks, frozen now in the bitter December air. The maitre d' had stopped checking on her after the first hour, his pitying glances more painful than the cold. Brandon had seemed so perfect online. 3 weeks of messages that made her laugh. Photos of him volunteering at an animal shelter. His profile said he was a teacher, divorced, looking for something real. He understood single parenthood, he said. He understood struggle. I can't wait to meet you, his last message had read. Marcello's at 8:30. I'll be the guy who can't stop smiling. Tanya had spent money she didn't have on this dress under her coat. A green dress that Tyler, her 7-year-old son, had said made her look like a princess. She had paid her neighbor Mrs. Chen $20 to watch Tyler overnight, money she needed for groceries. She had let herself hope. That was her mistake. Hope was expensive and she couldn't afford it. The restaurant was closing now. The last diners trickled out, wrapped in their scarves and their satisfaction. The staff began turning off lights. Tanya knew she needed to move, needed to start the 40-minute walk home because she had spent her last $12 on a cab here, thinking she'd get a ride back. She was such a fool. As she finally turned to leave, something caught her eye. A man sat on a wooden bench about 20 feet away, right there in the middle of the snowstorm. He wore an expensive-looking gray coat, the kind that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His head was in his hands and his shoulders shook. He was crying. Tanya stood frozen, watching him. She should leave. She should mind her business. She had her own problems, her own humiliation to nurse. But something in the way his shoulders trembled, something in the absolute devastation in his posture, pulled at her. She thought of Tyler, how he looked when he cried. How she could never walk past him without stopping, without caring. Before she could think better of it, her feet carried her toward the bench. The snow crunched under her heeled boots. The man didn't look up. "Hey," she said softly, standing a few feet away. "Are you okay?" Stupid question. Obviously he wasn't okay. The man's head jerked up. Even in the dim light from the street lamp, she could see his face was wet. He looked to be in his mid-30s, with dark hair dampened by snow, and eyes so full of pain it hurt to look at them. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice rough. "I didn't mean to. I should go." "No, please." Tanya surprised herself. You look like maybe you needed someone. Even a stranger." He stared at her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. It was a broken sound, halfway between a laugh and a sob. "A stranger might be exactly what I need right now." He gestured to the other end of the bench. "Want to sit? Though I should warn you, I'm terrible company tonight." Tanya hesitated for only a second before sitting down. The bench was freezing through her coat, but she was already so cold it barely mattered. They sat in silence for a moment, just two broken people on a bench in a snowstorm. "I'm Tanya," she offered. "Julian," he replied. He wiped his face with the back of his hand. "Julian Pierce." "Bad night, Julian?" He laughed again, that same broken sound. "The worst anniversary of my life." Tanya waited. She had learned from years of nursing that sometimes people needed silence more than questions. Julian reached into his pocket and pulled out a small pink mitten. It was child-sized, decorated with little white snowflakes. He held it carefully like it was made of glass. "My daughter Rosie, she's 6. A year ago today we got the diagnosis. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia." His voice cracked on the words. "She was 5 years old and they told us her body was full of cancer." Tanya's heart clenched. "Oh God. I'm so sorry." "The treatment is working. She's in remission now. But a year ago tonight, I held her in the hospital and listened to her cry and asked me why she had to be sick. And I had no answer." He turned the little mitten over in his hands. "I found this in my car today. She lost it last winter. Before everything changed." "That must have been so hard," Tanya said softly. "My wife left 6 months ago. Couldn't handle it. The stress, the hospitals, the fear. She just packed her bags one morning and left a note." Julian's jaw tightened. "Rosie asked me every day for 2 months when Mommy was coming home. Eventually she stopped asking. Tanya felt tears building in her own eyes. That's heartbreaking. So I came here tonight. To this bench. Because last December, before the diagnosis, I brought Rosie to this street. Right to this spot. She stood right there, he pointed to a spot a few feet away, and caught snowflakes on her tongue. She laughed so hard. It was 3 days before we found out she was sick. 3 days before our lives fell apart. The snow fell harder around them. Tanya should have been freezing, should have been running for shelter. Instead, she sat beside this stranger and hurt for him. Have you ever felt so broken that a stranger's kindness was the only thing holding you together? If this story is touching your heart, please subscribe and comment below. Tell me about a time someone showed up for you when you needed it most. Your story matters. Why are you out here? Julian asked suddenly, looking at her properly for the first time. It's nearly midnight in a snowstorm. And you look... He paused. You look like you've been crying too. Tanya laughed bitterly. I got stood up. Online date. I waited 3 hours for a man who never showed. I spent money I didn't have on this outfit. Paid for childcare I couldn't afford. And he just didn't come. He's an idiot, Julian said immediately. Or I am for believing him. No. Julian's voice was firm. You're not an idiot for having hope. Hope is brave. They fell silent again. The restaurant lights went completely dark. The street was empty except for them. I should get home, Tanya finally said. My son is with a neighbor. It's going to take me about 40 minutes to walk. Walk? Julian sat up straighter. In this? It's below freezing. I spent my cab money getting here. I thought. She shrugged. Doesn't matter what I thought. I have a car, Julian said. Well, a driver. Let me take you home. Please. Tanya started to refuse automatically. Then she thought of Tyler, of how worried he'd be if she came home sick. Of how she couldn't afford to miss work. Are you sure? I'm sure. It's the least I can do. You stopped for me when you had every reason to just walk past. You listened when you had your own pain. Please, let me help. Tanya looked at his face, at the genuine concern there. Okay, thank you. Really? Julian pulled out his phone and made a call. Within minutes, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. A driver got out and opened the back door. As they settled into the warm car, Tanya felt the feeling returning to her fingers and toes in painful prickles. Julian gave the driver Tanya's address. Thank you, she said again. You didn't have to do this. Maybe we both needed a reminder tonight that there's still kindness in the world, Julian said. He still held the pink mitten. Do you work? You mentioned childcare. I'm a pediatric nurse at Mercy General. I work 3 12-hour shifts a week. The rest of the time I'm with my son Tyler. He's 7. The best thing that ever happened to me. A pediatric nurse. Something shifted in Julian's expression. That's actually remarkable timing. What do you mean? Julian hesitated. I've been trying to find someone trustworthy to help with Rosie. Someone who could be with her after her half days at school. Someone who understands medical needs but who also just cares. I work from home now so I can be there for her treatments and appointments, but she needs interaction with someone beyond just me. Someone warm and kind. He looked at Tanya. I know this is forward. We just met. But would you consider it? I'd pay well. Very well. And it would only be a few hours each day so it wouldn't interfere with your shifts. Tanya's heart started beating faster. Extra income. Consistent extra income. Money for Tyler's field trips she always had to say no to. Money for new shoes instead of the ones with cardboard covering the holes. I would love that, she said. Really? I would be honored. Julian smiled for the first time. It transformed his face. Can we exchange numbers? We can work out the details this week. They programmed their numbers into each other's phones just as the car pulled up to Tanya's modest apartment building. The lobby light was flickering as always. One of the windows on the second floor was still covered with cardboard from last month. Tanya felt a flush of embarrassment at the contrast between Julian's obvious wealth and her circumstances. But when she looked at him, there was no judgment in his eyes. Only kindness. Thank you for tonight, Julian said. For sitting with me. For listening. You have no idea what it meant. Thank you for the ride. And for the opportunity. Really. I'll call you in a couple days. We'll set something up. Tanya got out of the car and watched it pull away. The snow was still falling but softer now. Gentler. She thought about hope, about how Julian said it was brave. Maybe he was right. Maybe tonight wasn't a complete disaster after all. Maybe sometimes the person you're supposed to meet isn't the one you planned on. Tanya woke up the next morning to Tyler jumping on her bed. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains of their small bedroom. For a moment she let herself just watch him. His gap-toothed smile, his wild curls that refused to be tamed, his pure joy at the simple fact of a new day. Mom. Mrs. Chin said it snowed so much last night. Can we build a snowman? Please? Tanya glanced at the clock. 8:47 a.m. She had about an hour before she needed to pick up an extra shift at the hospital. Money was tight after last night's wasted expenses, and she needed every hour she could get. Baby mommy has to work today. But tonight, after I get home, we can build the best snowman in the whole complex. Deal? Tyler's face fell for just a second before brightening again. That was her boy. Always bouncing back. Okay. I'm gonna draw what our snowman should look like. After dropping Tyler at his friend Marcus's apartment, whose mother also worked weekends and traded childcare with Tanya, she headed to the hospital. The pediatric wing was busy as always. Children with broken arms from sledding accidents, flu cases, and the regular patients she'd come to know over the years. She tried to focus, but her mind kept drifting back to Julian Pierce. To the pink mitten he'd held so carefully. To the pain in his eyes when he talked about his daughter. To the hope she'd felt when he offered her the job. Had it been real? Or was it just something people said in emotional moments, promises that evaporated in the harsh light of day? 3 days passed. Tanya had almost convinced herself that Julian wouldn't call. It had been too good to be true. The universe didn't send expensive cars and job offers to women who got stood up in snowstorms. She was folding laundry in the cramped living room while Tyler did homework at the kitchen table when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Tanya? It's Julian Pierce. From the other night. Her heart jumped. Oh, hi. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time. I wanted to follow up on what we discussed. About Rosie. No, it's fine. I'm just doing laundry. Are you free tomorrow afternoon? Maybe you could come by the house, meet Rosie? See if it feels like a good fit for everyone? Tanya's hand tightened on the phone. Yes, absolutely. What time? They arranged for 2 o'clock the next day. Julian gave her an address in Riverside Hills, the wealthy neighborhood on the other side of town. After they hung up, Tanya just sat there staring at her phone. Mom? Why are you smiling like that? Tyler looked up from his math worksheet. Because something good might be happening, baby. Something really good. The next day, Tanya borrowed Mrs. Chen's car and drove Tyler to the address Julian had given her. The houses in Riverside Hills were massive, with circular driveways and manicured lawns buried under perfect white snow. Whoa, Tyler breathed, pressing his face against the window. Mom, is this where rich people live? Tyler, that's not polite. What is it? Yes, baby. Now remember your manners, okay? The house was a beautiful 2-story colonial painted light blue with white trim. Not the biggest on the street but elegant. Warm. Lived in somehow despite its size. Julian opened the door before they even reached the porch. He wore jeans and a blue sweater, looking more casual than the devastated man in the expensive coat from the other night. But his smile was genuine when he saw them. Tanya. Thank you for coming. His eyes moved to Tyler. And this must be Tyler. Hi, Tyler said shyly, half hiding behind Tanya's leg. Come in please. It's freezing out there. The inside of the house was warm and surprisingly cluttered. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator. Toys were scattered across the living room floor. A half-finished puzzle sat on the coffee table. It wasn't the sterile mansion Tanya had expected. It was a home. Rosie. Julian called up the stairs. Our guests are here. Small footsteps thundered down the stairs. A little girl appeared, wearing purple leggings and an oversized green t-shirt with a cartoon cat on it. She was tiny for 6, with pale skin and thin blonde hair that barely touched her shoulders. She wore a pink knit cap over her head. But her eyes were bright and curious, and her smile was pure sunshine. Hi, Rosie said. I'm Rosie. Are you Tanya? I am. It's so nice to meet you, Rosie. Daddy said you're a nurse. Do you give shots? Tanya laughed. Sometimes. But not today. Today I'm just visiting. Rosie's eyes moved to Tyler, who was peeking out from behind Tanya. Is that your kid? This is Tyler. He's 7. I'm 6. Almost 7 though. My birthday is in March. Rosie walked right up to Tyler with zero shyness. Do you like Legos? I got the big castle set for Christmas. Tyler's eyes went wide. The enchanted castle? With the dragon? Yeah. Wanna see? Can I, Mom? Tanya looked at Julian, who nodded. Of course. Rosie's playroom is upstairs, first door on the left. The children thundered up the stairs, and suddenly Tanya and Julian were alone in the living room. She's beautiful, Tanya said. You can barely tell she's been sick. The hair is from the chemo. She finished treatment 2 months ago. It's growing back slowly. Julian's voice was soft. She's a fighter. The strongest person I know. How is she doing? Medically? Remission. Early remission, so we're cautiously hopeful. She still has checkups every month. Still gets tired easily. But her doctors are pleased with her progress. They sat on the couch and Julian explained what he needed. Someone to pick Rosie up from her half-day school program at 12:30, bring her home, give her lunch, and stay with her until he finished his work calls around 5. Some light housekeeping if Tanya was willing, but mainly just companionship for Rosie. She gets lonely, Julian said quietly. Her friends from before, most of their parents got weird when she was diagnosed. Like cancer was catching. Birthday party invitations dried up. Playdates stopped. It broke my heart to watch. Kids can be resilient, Tanya said. But they need people who show up. Who stay. That's what I'm hoping to give her. Stability. Someone consistent. They discussed schedule and payment. When Julian mentioned the hourly rate, Tanya had to stop herself from gasping. It was triple what she expected. With this income plus her nursing shifts, she could actually save money. Tyler could do after-school activities. They could move to a better apartment. That's very generous, she managed. You'll be caring for the most important person in my world. It's more than fair. Laughter echoed from upstairs. Both adults smiled at the sound. They're getting along well, Julian observed. Tyler doesn't make friends easily. He's shy like me. But something about your daughter put him at ease. Rosie has that effect on people. Even through everything she's maintained this light. This joy. I don't know how. Children are remarkable that way. They talked for over an hour. About Rosie's medical needs, which weren't extensive but required knowledge. About schedules and backup plans. About what Rosie liked to eat, her favorite shows, her fear of thunderstorms. But they also talked about other things. Julian asked about Tyler, about Tanya's job, about her life. He listened with genuine interest, never making her feel less than, never showing even a hint of judgment about her circumstances. You've been doing this alone? He asked when she mentioned Tyler's father had left before Tyler was born. Since I found out I was pregnant. My family disowned me. His family wanted me to, not have the baby. I chose Tyler and I lost everything else. But I gained everything too, if that makes sense. It makes perfect sense. When Tanya called up the stairs that it was time to go, Tyler came down dragging his feet. Already? But we didn't finish building the castle. Rosie bounced down behind him. Can Tyler come back? Please, Daddy? Julian looked at Tanya. How about this? Tanya starts on Monday. She can bring Tyler after school. He and Rosie can play while Tanya's here. Really? Both children chorused. If that works for Tanya. Tanya felt something warm bloom in her chest. Tyler would have a friend. A safe place to play. And she would have stable income doing something that felt right. That works perfectly, she said. As they drove home in Mrs. Chen's car, Tyler talked nonstop about Rosie, about the castle, about the huge TV in the playroom and the art supplies and the snack drawer that was just for kids. Tanya listened and smiled. In the rearview mirror, she caught her own reflection. She looked different than she had 3 days ago. She looked hopeful. That night, after Tyler was asleep, Tanya stood at their small apartment window looking at the snow. She thought about Brandon, the man who never showed up. 3 days ago, she'd been devastated. Humiliated. Now she felt grateful. Because if Brandon had shown up, she wouldn't have seen Julian crying on that bench. She wouldn't have stopped. She wouldn't have this opportunity. Tyler wouldn't have found a friend. Sometimes the worst nights led to the best mornings. Her phone buzzed. A text from Julian. Thank you for today. Rosie hasn't stopped talking about Tyler. I think this is going to work out well. See you Monday. Sleep well. Tanya typed back. Thank you for giving me this chance. See you Monday. She hesitated, then added, Sweet dreams to you and Rosie. 3 little dots appeared, then, Sweet dreams to you and Tyler too. Tanya fell asleep that night with a smile on her face. Outside, the snow fell softly, covering the city in quiet white. Somewhere across town, in a house that was becoming less lonely by the day, Julian Pierce tucked his daughter into bed and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Monday morning arrived cold and bright. Tanya had barely slept, running through everything that could go wrong. What if Rosie didn't like her as much in a caregiver role? What if she Messed up the medical protocols? What if Julian realized he'd made a mistake hiring someone from her background? Mom, you're making scrambled eggs wrong, Tyler observed from the kitchen table. You're stirring them too much. Sorry, baby. I'm distracted. Because of your new job? Yeah. You're going to be great, Mom. Rosie really liked you. She told me. Tanya smiled at her son. 7 years old and already wiser than her. Thank you, baby. That helps. After dropping Tyler at school, Tanya drove to Rosie's school in Mrs. Chen's borrowed car. The small private academy was in a converted church, with colorful playground equipment and cheerful murals on the walls. Parents in expensive cars lined up for pickup. Tanya felt out of place in her borrowed Honda, but Julian had added her to the approved pickup list. When Rosie came out, her face lit up like Christmas morning. Tanya, you came. Of course I came. Ready to go home? Rosie chattered the entire drive, telling Tanya about her morning, about her teacher Mrs. Rodriguez, about the reading corner and the class hamster named Pickles. Her energy was infectious. At the house, Julian met them at the door. He wore khakis and a maroon button-down, clearly in the middle of a workday. How was school, Rosebud? Good. We learned about penguins. Did you know penguins have knees? I did not know that. Why don't you go wash your hands for lunch? After Rosie skipped off, Julian turned to Tanya. Thank you for this. I have 3 video calls this afternoon. Knowing she's with you, I can actually focus. We'll be fine. I promise. There's lunch stuff in the fridge. She likes grilled cheese and tomato soup. Sometimes she gets tired around 2. If she needs a nap, that's okay. And if anything medical comes up, anything at all, my office is right down that hall. Don't hesitate. I've got this, Julian. Really? He studied her face for a moment, then nodded. I know you do. I'll be in my office if you need me. The afternoon passed smoothly. Tanya made lunch and Rosie ate most of it, chatting between bites. They did a puzzle together, painted pictures at the kitchen table and read stories on the couch. Around 2:30, Rosie's energy flagged. I'm sleepy, she admitted, rubbing her eyes. How about a rest? We can put on a movie. Rosie curled up on the couch with a soft blanket. Tanya dimmed the lights and put on an animated film. Within minutes, Rosie was asleep, her small chest rising and falling peacefully. Tanya quietly cleaned the kitchen, putting away the lunch dishes, wiping down counters. The house was surprisingly easy to care for. Julian was tidy, and most of Rosie's toys had designated homes. She was folding a small pile of Rosie's clean laundry when she heard footsteps. Julian appeared in the doorway looking tired. How did it go? He asked quietly, seeing Rosie asleep. Great. She's wonderful, Julian. So smart and funny. Did she eat lunch? Most of it. Then we painted and read. She got tired right when you said she would. Julian walked over to the couch, gently brushing hair from Rosie's forehead. The tenderness in the gesture made Tanya's throat tight. I'm going to make coffee, Julian said. Want some? I'd love some. Thank you. In the kitchen, Julian moved with comfortable familiarity, pulling down mugs, starting the expensive machine on the counter. The coffee smelled rich and dark. You didn't have to fold laundry, Julian said, noticing the neat pile. I wanted to help. That's part of why I'm here. Still. Thank you. He handed her a mug. Cream? Sugar? Both, please. They stood at the counter, sipping coffee in comfortable silence. Through the window, Tanya could see the backyard, large and covered in snow. A plastic slide and swing set sat unused. She can't play on that yet, Julian said, following her gaze. Too much risk of germs from other kids when she was in treatment. And now it's winter. But in the spring, when she's stronger, I'm hoping she can. She will, Tanya said with confidence. Kids bounce back fast. I want to believe that. They talked for a while about nothing and everything. Julian asked about Tyler's school, his interests. Tanya asked about Julian's work, which he explained was managing investments and business acquisitions. He worked from home now entirely, couldn't bear to be away from Rosie after everything. What about you? He asked. Do you like nursing? I love it. Especially pediatrics. Kids are so honest. So brave. Adults complain about a splinter, but kids face surgery with more courage than most grown people show in their entire lives. That's beautiful. The way you talk about them. Tanya felt heat rise in her cheeks. Sorry I get carried away. Don't apologize. It's refreshing. Most people see a job. You see a calling. At 3:30, Rosie woke up, confused for a moment before remembering where she was. She padded into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. Did I sleep long? Just an hour. How do you feel? Good. Can we make cookies? Julian laughed. I don't think we have the ingredients, Rosebud. I could run to the store, Tanya offered. If you tell me what you need. Tanya, you don't have to do that. I know. But look at her face. Rosie's eyes were wide and pleading in that universal way of children asking for something they desperately want. Julian smiled. Okay. There's a grocery store 2 blocks from here. I'll text you a list. Tanya took Julian's car, a sleek sedan that drove like a dream compared to Mrs. Chen's Honda. At the store, she grabbed the ingredients, adding a few extras with her own money. Tyler loved chocolate chips. Maybe there would be enough to take some home. Back at the house, Tanya and Rosie made cookies while Julian worked. They measured and mixed, getting flour on their clothes and laughing at the messy counter. Rosie stood on a stool, carefully dropping spoonfuls of dough onto the baking sheet. My mommy used to make cookies with me, Rosie said suddenly. Before she left. Tanya's hands stilled. Yeah. She said she couldn't stay because I was sick. That it was too hard. Rosie's voice was matter-of-fact, but Tanya heard the hurt underneath. Do you think I made her sad? Tanya's heart broke. She crouched down so she was eye level with Rosie. Oh, sweetie. No. You didn't make anyone sad. Sometimes grown-ups have problems that have nothing to do with kids. Your mommy leaving wasn't your fault. Not even a little bit. Daddy says that too. Because it's true. Do you think she'll come back? I don't know. But I know your daddy loves you more than anything in the whole world. And I know that you're incredibly special. Anyone who can't see that is missing out. Rosie hugged Tanya suddenly, her small arms tight around Tanya's neck. Tanya held her, feeling tears sting her eyes. When Julian emerged from his office at 5, the house smelled like fresh cookies. Rosie ran to him with a plate. We made cookies, Daddy. Try one. Julian took a bite and made an exaggerated face of delight. This is the best cookie I've ever had. Ever. Rosie giggled. Tanya helped me. Well, thank you both. At 5:30, Tanya needed to leave to pick up Tyler. Julian walked her to the door. Today was perfect, he said. Seriously. Rosie is so happy. I could hear her laughing while I was on calls. That sound, it's everything to me. She's easy to care for. A delight, really. Will you come tomorrow? Of course. Julian hesitated, then said, I put the full week's pay in your account. You should see it by morning. Tanya's eyes widened. But it's only been 1 day. I know. But I figured you might have bills, things that needed to be caught up. Consider it a signing bonus. Tanya wanted to refuse. Wanted to say it was too much. But she thought of the overdue electric bill, the rent that was coming due, Tyler's growing feet that needed new shoes. Thank you, she said, her voice thick. Really? Thank you. No. Thank you. You gave me peace of mind today. That's priceless. Driving to pick up Tyler, Tanya had to pull over because she was crying too hard to see. Good tears for once. Grateful tears. She checked her bank account on her phone. The deposit was there. More money than she'd ever seen in her account at once. She could pay her bills. Buy groceries without counting every penny. Get Tyler those shoes. That night, after putting Tyler to bed, Tanya sat at their small kitchen table and did something she hadn't done in years. She made a budget that didn't require choosing between food and electricity. Her phone buzzed. Julian. Rosie wants me to tell you good night. Also, she wants to know if you can bring Tyler tomorrow. Apparently, she needs his help with something important involving Legos. Tanya smiled at her phone. Tell her I'll bring him. And tell her good night from me too. Will do. Sleep well, Tanya. Today was a good day. It really was. Later, lying in bed, Tanya thought about how strange life was. A week ago, she'd been standing in a snowstorm, humiliated and broke. Now she had a job she loved, working for a man who treated her with respect, caring for a child who was stealing her heart. Sometimes Tanya thought the universe worked in mysterious ways. Sometimes the worst moments led to the best things. She fell asleep with her phone clutched in her hand, a smile on her face. The routine settled quickly. Every day Tanya picked up Rosie from school, brought her home, made lunch and filled the afternoon with activities. Sometimes Tyler came and the two children would play for hours, building elaborate Lego cities, creating art projects that covered the dining table, or watching movies curled up together on the couch. Julian worked in his office but emerged frequently, as if drawn by the sound of children's laughter. He would pour himself coffee and lean against the kitchen counter, watching Tanya help Rosie with a puzzle or listening to Tyler explain his latest drawing. You're natural with them, he observed one afternoon about 2 weeks into the arrangement. Tanya looked up from where she sat cross-legged on the floor, a crayon in her hand. I just remember what it was like being a kid. How big everything felt. How important the small things were. Not everyone remembers that. Or cares to. By the third week, Tanya noticed changes. Rosie had more color in her cheeks. She tired less easily. Her laughter came more frequently. And Julian, while still carrying the weight of everything he'd been through, smiled more. The lines around his eyes softened. One evening, as Tanya was gathering her things to leave, Julian stopped her. Can we talk for a minute? After the kids are settled? Tanya's stomach dropped. Was something wrong? Had she done something to upset him? They put on a movie for Rosie and Tyler, then went into the kitchen. Julian poured 2 glasses of water and sat at the table. Tanya sat across from him, nervously twisting her hands in her lap. I wanted to talk to you about something, Julian began. And please just listen to the whole thing before you respond, okay? Okay. These past 3 weeks have been the best weeks we've had since Rosie got sick. She's thriving. She's happy. You're not just good at this job, Tanya. You're exceptional. And it's not just Rosie. Tyler has brought so much joy to this house. Life. Energy. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I've been thinking. Your apartment, the one you mentioned, it's in a rough neighborhood. And you're working yourself to exhaustion between nursing shifts and coming here. Tyler's school is across town from here, which means you're spending hours each week just driving back and forth. Julian, I appreciate the concern, but I'm managing fine. I know you are. But what if you didn't have to just manage? What if things could be easier? Tanya felt something shift in the air. What are you suggesting? Move in here. Tanya's mouth fell open. What? Hear me out. This house has 4 bedrooms. Rosie uses 1, I use 1. That leaves 2 empty bedrooms just sitting here. You and Tyler could each have your own room. There's a bathroom upstairs that would be just for you two. You'd have your own space, your own privacy. Julian, I can't just move into your house. Why not? Think about it practically. You wouldn't have to drive across town multiple times a day. Tyler could go to Rosie's school, which is one of the best in the state. I'll pay the tuition. You could save your money instead of spending it all on rent and gas. And Rosie would love having you both here all the time. This is too much. It's too generous. Is it? Or is it just practical? I need someone I trust living here anyway. Someone who can be with Rosie if she has a medical emergency in the middle of the night. Someone who can help me manage this house. You need stability and security. This solves both our problems. Tanya's head was spinning. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Come upstairs, look at the rooms. See if you can picture it. Against her better judgment, Tanya followed Julian upstairs. The first empty bedroom was painted a soft yellow, with hardwood floors and a large window overlooking the backyard. It was bigger than Tanya's entire current bedroom and living room combined. This could be yours, Julian said. And down here. The second bedroom was painted light green with built-in bookshelves and a window seat. Tanya could immediately picture Tyler here, sprawled on that window seat with a book, his toys organized on those shelves. There's also a playroom that Rosie barely uses. Tyler could share it. They already play together constantly anyway. Julian, this is someone's dream house. I can't just move in. Why not? Give me one good reason. Because it's not normal. Because people will talk. Because it's too much. I don't care what people think. Do you? Julian's voice was gentle. Tanya, I'm not asking you to be anything other than what you already are. A caregiver for Rosie. Someone I trust. Someone who makes this house feel like a home again. The living situation just makes practical sense. What about Tyler's school? His friends? What friends? You told me he doesn't have many. He's shy like you said. He could start fresh at Rosie's school. Make new friends. Get a better education. I'd be completely dependent on you. No. You'd still have your nursing job. Your own income. Your own life. You'd just be living here instead of across town. You could save money, build something for Tyler's future. This isn't charity, Tanya. It's an arrangement that benefits all of us. Tanya walked to the window in what could be Tyler's room. The backyard looked magical in the late afternoon light, snow sparkling like diamonds. Can I think about it? Talk to Tyler? Of course. Take all the time you need. But Tanya? She turned to look at him. I wouldn't offer this if I didn't genuinely think it was best for everyone. Including you and Tyler. That night, Tanya sat Tyler down at their small kitchen table. Their apartment suddenly looked even shabbier than usual. The leaky faucet, the crack in the ceiling, the radiator that clanked all night. Baby, I need to talk to you about something big. Tyler looked up from his chicken nuggets, eyes wide. What? How would you feel about moving to a different place? Like a new apartment? Like a house. Julian's house. Tyler's fork clattered to his plate. Really? We'd live there? With Rosie? Maybe. If you wanted to. You'd have your own bedroom. A big one with bookshelves and a window seat. You'd go to Rosie's school. But it would be a big change. Would we have to leave our stuff here? No, baby. We'd bring everything. Your toys, your books, everything. Tyler thought for a long moment. Then he said, Would you be happier there, Mom? The question broke Tanya's heart. Her 7-year-old was worried about her happiness. I think I might be. But only if you'd be happy too. I like Rosie. She's my best friend. And Julian is nice. He doesn't look at us like we're weird. What do you mean? Some people look at us like we're weird because you're my mom and we don't have a dad. Julian doesn't do that. He just treats us normal. Tanya pulled Tyler into a hug. You are so smart, you know that? So can we move? If you're sure. I'm sure, Mom. Can I have the room with the green paint? Tanya laughed through tears. Yes, baby. You can have the green room. The next day Tanya told Julian yes. His face split into a genuine smile, the kind that reached his eyes and made him look years younger. Really? Really? But I want to contribute. Help with groceries, utilities, something. Absolutely not. You're providing childcare and helping run this house. That's contribution enough. Besides, I can afford it, Tanya. Let me help. Please. And there it was again. His offer of help, given so freely without expectation or judgment. Okay, she said. Thank you. When can you move in? End of the month? I need to give notice at my current place. Perfect. I'll help. We'll rent a truck and I'll move everything. You and Tyler just worry about packing. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday morning, Julian showed up at Tanya's apartment building with a moving truck and a smile. The three of them loaded boxes while Rosie supervised from the truck cab. Julian never once commented on the condition of the building or Tanya's modest belongings. He just worked steadily, carrying boxes, making jokes, keeping Tyler entertained. By late afternoon, everything was moved. Tyler's room was full of boxes, but he didn't care. He was too busy exploring, opening drawers, testing the window seat, arranging his stuffed animals on the built-in shelves. Rosie showed him her room, the playroom, the backyard. And in the spring, Daddy says we can use the swing set. We can play every day. That night, after the children were asleep, Tanya and Julian sat in the living room with tea. The house was quiet, peaceful. Thank you, Tanya said. For all of this. I'll work hard, I promise. I'll earn this. You already have. Just keep being you. Keep making Rosie smile. Keep bringing life to this house. I can do that. Julian lifted his mug. To new beginnings. Tanya clinked her mug against his. To new beginnings. That night, in her beautiful yellow bedroom with its soft sheets and quiet radiator that didn't clank, Tanya slept better than she had in years. Down the hall, Tyler slept sprawled across his new bed, a smile on his face. And somewhere in the house, Julian lay awake thinking that maybe, just maybe, they could be a family. Not in the traditional way, but in the way that mattered. The way that was built on kindness and trust and people showing up for each other. He thought about hope, about how Tanya had sat beside him on that bench in the snowstorm. How she'd listened. How she'd cared. Sometimes he thought the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. He fell asleep with that thought, feeling more at peace than he had in a very long time. The first week living in Julian's house was an adjustment for everyone. Tanya woke early out of habit, unsure of her place in this beautiful home. She made breakfast quietly, trying not to disturb anyone, until Julian came downstairs in his pajamas and laughed. Tanya, you don't have to tiptoe around. This is your home too. Make noise. Live here. I just don't want to intrude. You couldn't intrude if you tried. Coffee? They fell into a morning routine. Julian made coffee while Tanya made breakfast. The kids would stumble down around 7, still sleepy, and they'd all eat together at the kitchen table. It felt domestic. Normal. Right. Tyler started at Rosie's school the second week. Tanya worried he'd struggle with the transition, but he came home that first day chattering about his new teacher, Mr. Patterson, and the science lab, and how they had a reading corner with beanbag chairs. Mom, they have a whole library. Just for kids. And Mr. Patterson said I can check out 3 books at once. Julian had been right. The school was better. So much better. Rosie's health continued to improve. Her energy increased. Her hair grew in thicker. She and Tyler were inseparable, creating elaborate games, building forts from couch cushions, putting on shows for Julian and Tanya in the living room. Tanya still worked her nursing shifts, but the schedule felt manageable now. No more rushing across town. No more worrying about Tyler being alone. He stayed with Julian when she worked, and Julian treated him like his own son. One evening, Tanya came home from a shift to find Julian teaching both kids how to make pancakes from scratch. The kitchen was a disaster, flour everywhere, but all three of them were laughing. "Mom, I flipped a pancake all by myself," Tyler announced proudly. "I see that, baby. Looks like you all had fun." "We made extra for you," Julian said, holding up a plate. "They're a little burnt, but the kids insist they're gourmet." Tanya's heart did something strange in her chest. Something warm and unfamiliar. She pushed the feeling away. A month after moving in, Tanya noticed Julian watching her sometimes. Not in a creepy way, but with an expression she couldn't quite read. When she'd catch him, he'd smile and look away, a slight flush on his cheeks. One Saturday afternoon, while the kids played in the backyard, finally warm enough to use the swing set, Julian and Tanya cleaned up from lunch. "Can I ask you something?" Julian said, drying a dish. "Of course. Are you happy here?" "Really?" Tanya looked at him in surprise. "Yes, very. Why?" "I just want to make sure that you don't feel trapped or obligated or anything other than comfortable." "Julian, this is the happiest Tyler and I have been in years. Maybe ever. You've given us so much. You've given us just as much." Julian set down the dish towel. "When you moved in, this house stopped feeling like a place we were just surviving in. It became a home. Rosie is thriving. I'm not constantly worried anymore. That's because of you. I'm just doing my job." "No. You're doing so much more than that. You care about Rosie like she's your own. You treat this house like it matters to you. You've made us a family." The word hung in the air between them. "Family. Is that what we are?" Tanya asked softly. "I'd like to think so. Wouldn't you?" Before Tanya could answer, Tyler ran in from the backyard. "Mom?" Rosie fell and scraped her knee. "She's crying." They both rushed outside. Rosie sat on the ground, tears streaming down her face, blood trickling from a small scrape on her knee. Julian started to panic, his face going pale. "Is it bad? Does she need the hospital? What if it gets infected?" Tanya put a calm hand on his arm. Julian breathed. "It's just a scrape. Watch." She knelt beside Rosie. "Hey, sweetie. Can I see?" Through her tears, Rosie extended her leg. The scrape was minor, barely breaking the skin. Tanya pulled a tissue from her pocket and gently wiped the dirt away. "You're going to be just fine. Let's go inside and get you cleaned up properly, okay? Then we'll put on a fun Band-Aid. I think I saw some with butterflies in the bathroom." "Butterflies?" Rosie sniffled. "Yep. And you know what? Scraped knees mean you were being brave and trying something new. That's always good." "Really? Really?" Inside, Tanya cleaned the scrape while Julian watched, still pale. When Rosie ran off to show Tyler her butterfly Band-Aid, Julian sat heavily on the couch. "I panicked," he said. "I saw blood and I panicked." Tanya sat beside him. "That's normal. After everything you've been through with her health, of course you're going to worry. But Julian, she's getting stronger every day. She's allowed to be a normal kid again. Scraped knees and all." "How do you stay so calm?" "Practice. Years of nursing. Years of Tyler getting hurt in the normal kid ways." She smiled. "You'll get there." Julian looked at her, really looked at her. "What would I do without you?" "Good thing you don't have to find out." That night, after the kids were asleep, Tanya found Julian on the back porch looking at the stars. She grabbed a blanket and went out to join him. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked. "Just thinking." About how much has changed in 2 months. How different everything feels." Tanya pulled the blanket tighter around herself. The April night was cool but pleasant. Good different. The best different. He turned to look at her. "Tanya, I need to tell you something." Her heart started beating faster. "Okay. I think I'm falling for you." The words hung in the night air. Tanya's breath caught. "Julian?" "Wait. Let me finish. I know this is complicated. I know you work for me technically. I know we have the kids to think about. But these past 2 months, watching you with Rosie, seeing how you care for Tyler, talking to you every day, you've become my best friend. And somewhere along the way you became more." Tanya didn't know what to say. She'd been pushing her own feelings down, convincing herself that her racing heart when Julian smiled was just gratitude. That the warmth she felt when he laughed was just happiness at a good situation. But it was more. She knew it was more. "I feel it too," she whispered. "I've been trying not to. trying to keep things professional. But Julian, when you're around, everything feels right. When you smile, I smile. When you worry about Rosie, I worry. When you're happy, I'm happy. Julian reached over and took her hand. His palm was warm against hers. What do we do about this? I don't know. There's so much to consider. The kids. Our arrangement. What if things don't work out? What if they do? Tanya laughed softly. Ever the optimist. You taught me that. You and Tyler and your resilience and your hope. He squeezed her hand. I don't want to pressure you. We can take this as slow as you need. But I wanted you to know how I feel. That this isn't just gratitude or convenience. This is real. It is real, Tanya agreed. For me too. They sat there on the porch holding hands watching the stars. Neither of them noticed Rosie peeking through the upstairs window, a huge smile on her face. The next morning at breakfast, Rosie was suspiciously cheerful. Daddy, can Tanya come to my doctor appointment this week? Julian looked at Tanya. Would you want to? I'd love to. If you're comfortable with it. Of course. Your family. Rosie grinned. See Tyler? I told you. We're a family now. Tyler nodded seriously. The best family. Julian and Tanya exchanged a look across the table. Something unspoken passed between them. They'd figure this out. Together. After the kids left for school, Julian stopped Tanya in the hallway. Can I take you to dinner? A real date? This Friday? Tanya's stomach fluttered. What about the kids? I'll hire a sitter. Someone Rosie knows and likes. Just for a few hours. What do you say? Every practical part of Tanya's brain screamed that this was a bad idea. But her heart, the part of her that had been alone for so long, that had given up on romance after Brandon and a string of disappointments, whispered yes. Yes, she said. I'd like that. Julian's smile could have lit the entire house. Friday at 7. Wear something nice. I don't really have anything nice. Then go shopping. Buy something that makes you feel beautiful. He pressed something into her hand. A credit card. Use this. Please. No arguments. Julian, I can't. You can. Consider it a bonus for putting up with me panicking over scraped knees. Tanya laughed despite herself. Okay. But just a dress. Nothing crazy. Whatever makes you happy. That week passed in a blur of anticipation and nerves. Tanya found a simple blue dress at a department store, nothing too fancy, but it made her feel pretty. She got her hair done, something she hadn't done for herself in years. Friday arrived. The babysitter, a nursing student named Carla whom Rosie adored, arrived at 6:30. Both kids gave their approval of Tanya's dress. You look like a princess, Mom, Tyler said, eyes wide. Daddy's going to think you're so pretty, Rosie added with a knowing smile. When Julian came downstairs in a dark suit, Tanya's breath caught. He looked different. Polished. But still him, still the man who made pancakes with her son and read bedtime stories to his daughter. You look stunning, he said softly. You look pretty good yourself. In the car, Julian reached over and took her hand. Nervous. Terrified. Me too. They went to a small Italian restaurant, intimate and quiet. Nothing like the place where Brandon had stood her up. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. About their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. I never thought I'd feel this way again, Julian admitted. After Patricia left, I figured I was done with love. That I'd just focus on Rosie. I felt the same. After Tyler's father left, after my family disowned me, I built walls. I didn't let anyone in. What changed? You. That night in the snow. You were so broken, but you were still kind. You offered help when you needed it just as much. You saw me, really saw me when most people look right through me. Julian lifted her hand and kissed her knuckles. I'm so glad I was on that bench. So glad you stopped. Me too. Have you ever met someone who changed everything? Someone who saw you when you were invisible? If this story is making you feel something, hit subscribe and share your story in the comments. When did you meet the person who changed your life? When they got home, both kids were asleep on the couch, Carla watching a movie. Julian paid her generously and thanked her for staying late. After Carla left, Julian walked Tanya to the bottom of the stairs. Thank you for tonight. Thank you for asking me. They stood there, close enough that Tanya could smell his cologne. Close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his eyes. Can I kiss you? Julian asked softly. Instead of answering, Tanya closed the distance between them. The kiss was gentle, sweet, perfect. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. Good night, Tanya. Good night, Julian. Upstairs in her yellow bedroom, Tanya lay awake long into the night. She thought about Tyler's father who'd left without looking back. About Brandon who'd never shown up. About all the years of being alone, of managing, of just surviving. And then she thought about Julian. About how he looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. About how he treated Tyler like his own son. About how he'd given her family a home when they had nothing. Maybe, she thought, maybe this was what love was supposed to feel like. Not dramatic or overwhelming but steady. Safe. True. Outside, the stars shone brightly. In Rosie's room, the little girl smiled in her sleep, dreaming of the family she'd wished for. In Tyler's room, he clutched his favorite stuffed animal, content and secure. And downstairs, Julian sat in his office looking at a photo on his desk. It was from last week, a selfie Rosie had taken of all four of them in the backyard. They were laughing, covered in grass stains, looking like exactly what they were. A family. The weeks after their first date were strange and wonderful. Julian and Tanya navigated their new relationship carefully, mindful of the children and their unique living situation. They stole moments together, holding hands while cooking dinner, sharing secret smiles across the room, staying up late talking after the kids went to bed. Rosie's monthly checkup came on a bright May morning. Tanya went with them, holding Rosie's hand in the waiting room while Julian filled out paperwork. "I don't like the needles," Rosie whispered. "I know, sweetie. But you're so brave. The bravest girl I know. Will you hold my hand during?" "Absolutely." Dr. Martinez, Rosie's oncologist, was a kind woman in her 50s with gentle eyes. She examined Rosie thoroughly, asked questions about her energy levels and appetite, and reviewed her latest blood work. "Everything looks good," she announced, smiling. "Really good. Her counts are excellent. The cancer markers are still undetectable. If she continues like this, we'll move to checkups every 3 months instead of monthly." Julian's relief was visible. 3 months. 3 months. "She's doing remarkably well, Mr. Pierce. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." In the car on the way home, Rosie chattered happily about getting ice cream to celebrate, about showing Tyler her good report, about how she only cried a little during the blood draw. "You were so brave," Tanya told her. "I'm proud of you. Can you come to all my appointments? If your dad wants me there, I'll be there." Julian caught her eye in the rearview mirror. "Always. She wants you there and so do I." Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Julian worked from home, emerging from his office to find Tanya helping Tyler with homework or playing games with Rosie. They cooked dinner together every night, all four of them in the kitchen, laughing and talking. On weekends they did family things. Went to the park, visited museums, had movie nights with popcorn and blankets. They were building something real, something lasting. Then came the night that changed everything. It was mid-June, warm and pleasant. Tanya had worked a late shift at the hospital and came home around midnight. The house was quiet, all the lights off except for the one in Julian's office. She peeked in. "Hey, you're up late." Julian looked up from his laptop. His face was drawn, exhausted. "Hey, how was work?" "Long, rough night in the PICU." She stepped into the office. "You okay? You look tired." "I'm fine. Just working on some things." But he didn't look fine. He looked on the edge of breaking. Tanya closed the office door and sat in the chair across from his desk. "Julian, what's wrong?" "Nothing. Really. Don't shut me out. Please." Julian's shoulders sagged. "It's just, Rosie had a nightmare tonight. About the hospital, about being sick again. She woke up crying, asking if the cancer was coming back. And I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to comfort her." "Oh, Julian. What if it does come back? What if this is just temporary? What if I lose her?" His voice cracked. "I can't lose her, Tanya. She's everything." Tanya moved around the desk and knelt beside his chair. "Hey, look at me." Julian met her eyes and she saw the fear there. The absolute terror of a parent facing the possibility of losing their child. Dr. Martinez said she's doing great. Her blood work is perfect. She's gaining weight, her hair is growing back, she has energy. All the signs are good. But there are no guarantees. The doctor said that too. Childhood cancer can come back. It can. But it might not. In fact, statistics say it probably won't. Tanya took his hands. "You can't live in fear of what might happen. You'll miss what's happening right now. And right now, Rosie is healthy and happy. Right now, she's okay." "I'm so scared," Julian whispered. "Every day I'm scared." "I know. But you don't have to be scared alone." Tanya squeezed his hands. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. We'll face whatever comes together." Something broke in Julian then. He pulled Tanya close, burying his face in her shoulder, and started to cry. Deep, wrenching sobs that shook his whole body. All the fear and pain and stress of the past year poured out. Tanya held him, rubbing his back, murmuring soft reassurances. She didn't try to stop his tears or minimize his pain. She just held him, steady and strong, the way he'd held her up these past months. When his tears finally subsided, Julian pulled back, wiping his face. "I'm sorry. God, I'm sorry. Don't apologize. You needed that. I try to stay strong for Rosie. I can't let her see me fall apart. You're allowed to fall apart sometimes. That's what I'm here for." Julian looked at her, really looked at her. "How did I get so lucky? Finding you? I think we found each other. That night in the snow we both needed someone. And we were brave enough to stop and care." "I love you," Julian said suddenly. "I know it's fast and maybe it's too soon to say it, but I love you, Tanya. I love how you care for Rosie. I love how you treat Tyler. I love your strength and your kindness and your hope. I love you." Tanya's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too. So much." They kissed, deep and real and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Julian rested his forehead against hers. "Will you stay tonight? You're in my room? I don't want to be alone." "Yes." They went upstairs together, checked on both sleeping children, then went to Julian's room. They lay in his bed, wrapped in each other's arms, talking in whispers. "Tell me about Tyler's father," Julian said. "You've never really talked about him." Tanya sighed. "There's not much to tell. We were young. I was 21, working 2 jobs, trying to save for nursing school. He was charming and fun and made me feel special. When I got pregnant, he disappeared. Literally. Changed his number, moved out of his apartment. I never heard from him again. That must have been terrifying." "It was. But Tyler made it all worth it. Every hard day, every struggle, he was the light that kept me going. He's an amazing kid. You raised him well." "I tried. It wasn't always pretty, but we made it." Julian pulled her closer. "You're the strongest person I know." They talked until dawn, sharing secrets and fears and dreams. When the sun came up, they were still awake, still holding each other. "I should probably get back to my room before the kids wake up," Tanya said reluctantly. "Or we could tell them. About us." "Are you sure? They might not understand." "They already know. Rosie asked me last week when I was going to ask you to be my girlfriend officially." Julian laughed. "Kids are observant. Tyler asked me if you were my boyfriend. I told him I wasn't sure. What if we made it official? Not just between us but with the kids too. We're already living like a family. Let's acknowledge it." Tanya thought about it. About how Tyler looked at Julian with such trust. About how Rosie called her "my Tanya" with such affection. About how right this all felt. "Okay, let's tell them." They went downstairs to make breakfast together. When the kids came down, sleepy-eyed and rumpled, Julian and Tanya were both smiling. "We have something to tell you both," Julian said. Rosie perked up immediately. "Are you getting married?" "Not yet," Julian laughed. "But we wanted you to know that Tanya and I are together now. Like, officially dating. How do you both feel about that?" "Finally," Rosie shouted. "Tyler, they finally did it." Tyler grinned. "Does this mean Tanya is staying forever?" "If she'll have us," Julian said, looking at Tanya. "Forever sounds perfect," Tanya replied. The kids cheered. Rosie jumped up and down. Tyler did a little victory dance. And Julian and Tanya looked at each other across the kitchen, both thinking the same thing. This was home. This was family. This was love. Later that day, while the kids played in the backyard, Julian pulled Tanya aside. "I want to do this right. I want to give you everything you deserve. Time, romance, a real relationship. I don't need fancy things, Julian. I just need you. And this family we're building. Still, you deserve to be courted properly. Taken on dates. Made to feel special. You already make me feel special. Every single day." Julian kissed her softly. "I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving you didn't make a mistake believing in us. I could never think that. You saved us, Julian. You and Rosie, you gave Tyler and me a home when we had nothing. You saved us too. You brought life back into this house. You gave Rosie a mother figure when she needed one most. You gave me hope." They stood there in the doorway watching their kids play together, planning their future with quiet confidence. That night, after tucking both kids into bed, Julian and Tanya sat on the back porch under the stars. Exactly like they had 2 months ago when Julian first confessed his feelings. "Thank you for letting me fall apart earlier," Julian said. "For not judging me for being scared. We all get scared. That's human. But we don't have to face our fears alone. Not anymore. Julian lifted her hand and kissed it. No. Not anymore. They sat in comfortable silence, holding hands, being together. Down the hall, Rosie slept peacefully, her nightmares forgotten. In his green room, Tyler dreamed of his future, secure in the knowledge that he was loved and safe. And on the porch, two people who had been broken and alone found healing in each other's arms. They had built something beautiful from their pain. Something lasting. They had built home. Summer arrived in full force, bringing long days of sunshine and warmth. Tanya continued working her nursing shifts, but every moment away from the house felt strange now. This was where she belonged, with Julian and the kids, building their unconventional but perfect family. Julian took Tanya on dates every week. Sometimes they went to nice restaurants, sometimes they had picnics in the park, sometimes they just drove around the city talking and holding hands. He showed her the world outside their bubble, but they always came home to the same place, the same kids, the same life they were building together. I want to take Tyler to the Science Museum, Julian mentioned one morning over coffee. There's an exhibit on space exploration. I think he'd love it. He would. He's been obsessed with astronauts lately. Good. Saturday just us guys. You and Rosie can have a girls' day. Tanya's heart swelled. Julian didn't just accept Tyler. He actively pursued a relationship with him, made effort, showed up. On Saturday, while Julian took Tyler to the museum, Tanya and Rosie went shopping, got their nails done, and had lunch at a cafe. Rosie chattered nonstop about school, about her friends, about how much she loved having Tyler as a brother. Can I ask you something? Rosie said seriously, picking at her grilled cheese. Of course, sweetie. Are you going to stay forever? Like really forever? Tanya's throat tightened. I want to. Very much. Good. 'Cause I love you. Like real love. Like how I loved my mom before she left. Rosie's eyes filled with tears. Is that okay? To love you like a mom? Tanya felt tears building in her own eyes. Oh, Rosie. That's more than okay. That's the most wonderful thing you could say. Really? Really? I love you like a daughter. I have from the moment I met you. Rosie launched herself into Tanya's arms, hugging her tight. The people at nearby tables smiled at them. When they got home, the boys were already back, both talking excitedly about rockets and planets and something called a supernova. Mom? They had a real space shuttle. Well, a model, but it was real-sized. Tyler's eyes were shining. That sounds amazing, baby. And Julian bought me a book about astronauts. Look. He thrust the book at her. Julian came up behind them, smiling. He was fascinated. Asked a million questions. The museum guide loved him. That night, after the kids were asleep, Julian sat Tanya down on the couch. He looked nervous. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing's wrong. I just want to talk about something important. He took her hands. I want to officially adopt Tyler. Tanya's breath caught. What? Tyler deserves a father. A real one legally. I want to be that for him. If you'll let me. If he wants me to. Julian, that's a lot, I know. But I mean it, Tanya. He's already my son in every way that matters. Let's make it legal. Let's make it real. Tears streamed down Tanya's face. Are you serious? Completely. I've already talked to a lawyer. His biological father abandoned him, never paid support, never tried to contact him. Legally, it should be straightforward. We just need your permission. And Tyler's agreement. He would love that. God, Julian, he would love that so much. They talked to Tyler the next morning. Both parents sat him down at the kitchen table, serious but smiling. Baby, we need to ask you something, Tanya began. Tyler looked between them, eyes wide. Am I in trouble? No, not at all, Julian assured him. The opposite, actually. Tyler, you know how much I care about you, right? Yeah. And you know that I love your mom very much. Yeah. Well, I was hoping that you might let me be your dad. Officially. Legally. I'd like to adopt you, make you a Pierce, give you my last name. What do you think about that? Tyler's mouth fell open. For a long moment he just stared. Then he whispered, Really? Like for real? For real. If you want me to. Tyler launched himself at Julian, wrapping his arms around his neck. Yes. Yes, I want that. Can I call you Dad? Julian's voice was thick with emotion. I would love that more than anything. Tanya watched them, crying happy tears, while Rosie did a victory dance around the kitchen. We're really a family now, Rosie announced. Like official. The paperwork took 3 months. 3 months of meetings with lawyers, filling out forms, waiting for court dates. Tyler's biological father was contacted but never responded, making the process easier. On a bright September morning they all went to court. Tyler wore his best outfit, a maroon button-down shirt and khakis that Julian had bought him. He was nervous but excited, holding tight to both Julian's and Tanya's hands. The judge was a kind older woman who smiled at Tyler. "Young man, do you understand what's happening today?" "Yes, ma'am. Julian is going to be my dad. For real." "And is that what you want?" "More than anything." "Then let's make it official." The judge signed the papers. Just like that, Tyler Brooks became Tyler Pierce, Julian's legal son. They celebrated with ice cream and a special dinner at home. Tyler kept saying his new name over and over. "Tyler Pierce. I'm Tyler Pierce now." "You are," Julian confirmed, ruffling his hair. "My son." That night, after tucking both kids into bed, Julian found Tanya in their bedroom. Yes, their bedroom. She'd officially moved into Julian's room 2 months ago. "Thank you," he said, pulling her close. "For what?" "For trusting me with him. For letting me into both of your lives. For building this family with me. Thank you for wanting us. For seeing us when the world looked past us." "I see you, Tanya. Always." They fell asleep wrapped in each other, content and secure. The months passed in a blur of happiness. Rosie continued to thrive medically. Tyler excelled at school. Tanya kept working but fewer shifts now, spending more time at home. Julian's business did well, providing more than enough for their family. On Thanksgiving they gathered around the table, the 4 of them plus Mrs. Chin, whom they'd invited. Tyler insisted on saying grace. "Thank you for this food. Thank you for our family. Thank you for making Mom smile all the time. Thank you for Rosie being my sister. Thank you for Dad." He paused, grinning at Julian. "I really like saying that. Dad. Thank you for Dad. Amen." Everyone laughed, even through their tears. After dinner, while the kids played with Mrs. Chen, Julian pulled Tanya outside to the back porch. The November air was cool but not cold. "I have something for you," he said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Tanya's heart started racing. "Julian?" "Wait. Let me say this first." He took her hands. "A year ago I was sitting on a bench in a snowstorm, broken and alone. You stopped when you had every reason to keep walking. You sat beside a stranger and showed him kindness. You changed everything. You changed everything for me too. These past months have been the happiest of my life. Watching you with Rosie, with Tyler, with me. You've made this house a home. You've made us a family. Tanya Brooks, I love you with everything I have. Will you marry me?" He opened the box. Inside was a simple but beautiful ring, a single diamond on a gold band. Tanya was crying too hard to speak. She nodded vigorously. "Is that a yes?" "Yes. Yes, of course yes." Julian slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her deeply. Behind them, through the window, they could hear the kids cheering. They turned to see both children and Mrs. Chen pressed against the glass, all of them grinning. "They knew." Tanya laughed. "I asked their permission last week. They've been bursting to tell you." The kids rushed outside, both talking at once. "Can I be the flower girl?" Rosie demanded. "Can I be the ring bearer?" Tyler asked. "Yes and yes," Julian laughed. "But guys, you're freezing. Come on inside." They all went back in, talking excitedly about weddings and dresses and cakes. Mrs. Chin hugged Tanya tightly. "I'm so happy for you, dear. You deserve this. Thank you for watching Tyler that first night. For lending me your car all those months. For being my friend when I had no one. You were always a good person. I just gave you some help. The rest you did yourself." That night, lying in bed next to Julian, Tanya looked at her ring in the dim light. It sparkled, beautiful and real. "I can't believe this is my life," she whispered. "Believe it. You earned it. Every bit of happiness. When should we get married?" "As soon as possible. I don't want to wait." Julian kissed her forehead. "Unless you want a big wedding." "No. Small. Intimate. Just us and the kids and a few friends." "Perfect. How about December? We could do it on the anniversary of when we met." Tanya thought about it. A year ago she'd been standing in the snow, heartbroken and humiliated. Now she was here, engaged to a man who loved her, with 2 children who called her mom, in a home that was truly hers. December sounds perfect. They planned the wedding for December 15th, exactly 1 year after that snowy night. Nothing elaborate, just a small ceremony at the house with close friends and family. Tanya invited Mrs. Chin and a few colleagues from the hospital. Julian invited his business partner and some friends. The kids invited their favorite teachers. The morning of the wedding, Tanya stood in her yellow bedroom, now fully hers, looking at herself in the mirror. Her wedding dress was simple and elegant, cream-colored with lace sleeves. She wore her hair up with small flowers tucked into the style. Rosie knocked on the door, already in her flower girl dress, a beautiful green gown. "You look like a real bride," Rosie breathed. "You look like a real princess." "Are you nervous?" "A little. But mostly just happy." "Me too. I'm glad you're marrying Daddy." "I'm glad you're staying forever." "I'm staying forever, sweetie. I promise." They walked downstairs together. The living room had been transformed with flowers and white chairs. Tyler stood at the front in his little suit, holding the rings on a pillow. He looked so grown up it made Tanya's heart ache. And there was Julian at the end of the short aisle, looking at her like she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. He wore a dark suit and a maroon tie that matched Tyler's shirt. The ceremony was short and sweet. They said traditional vows, both crying through them. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Julian cupped Tanya's face gently and kissed her softly. Their small group of friends applauded. Tyler and Rosie rushed forward, hugging their parents. "We're really married now?" Rosie asked. "Really married," Julian confirmed. "Good. Can we have cake?" Everyone laughed. The reception was casual and joyful. They ate, danced, celebrated. Julian twirled Tanya around the living room while Tyler and Rosie chased each other, hyped up on cake and happiness. Later, when the guests had left and the kids were asleep, Julian and Tanya stood in the backyard under the stars. Snow had started to fall, gentle and soft, just like that night a year ago. "Look," Tanya said, catching a snowflake on her hand. "Just like when we met." "The universe has a sense of poetry," Julian said, pulling her close. "Thank you for stopping that night. For caring about a stranger. For giving me a chance. Thank you for offering me a ride home. For seeing something in me worth keeping. For loving my son like your own." They kissed under the falling snow, two people who had been alone finding forever in each other's arms. Inside, through the window, they could see their house lit up warm and bright. Their home. Their family. This was where they belonged. Together. Life as the Pierce family settled into a comfortable rhythm. Tanya officially changed her name to Tanya Pierce. Tyler loved writing his full name, Tyler Pierce, on all his schoolwork. Rosie told everyone who would listen about her new mom. They were happy. Truly deeply happy. Then Patricia called. It was a Thursday morning in late January, a month after the wedding. Julian was in his office when his phone rang with a number he'd deleted but still recognized. "Julian? It's Patricia." He gripped the phone tighter. "What do you want?" "I want to talk. About Rosie. I've been thinking a lot and I've made a mistake. I want to be part of her life again." Julian's stomach dropped. "You can't be serious." "I'm serious. She's my daughter. I have rights. You left. You abandoned her when she needed you most. You don't get to just waltz back in when things are easier." "I was overwhelmed, Julian. I couldn't handle it. But I'm better now. I've been in therapy. I'm ready to be her mother again." "You're over a year too late. Legally, I'm still her mother. I never gave up custody. I want visitation." Julian felt panic rising. "No, absolutely not. You'll hurt her again." "I won't. I promise. I'm different now. Look, I don't want to fight. I don't want lawyers. I just want to see my daughter. Can we meet? Talk about this?" Against his better judgment, Julian agreed. They set up a meeting for Saturday at a coffee shop, just the two of them. Julian told Tanya that night. She was putting away laundry in their bedroom when he came in, his face pale. Patricia called. Tanya's hands stilled. What did she want? To see Rosie. She says she's changed, that she's ready to be a mother again. What did you say? I said no. But she mentioned lawyers, visitation rights. I'm meeting her Saturday to talk. Julian sat on the bed, running his hands through his hair. What if she takes Rosie? What if I lose her? Tanya sat beside him, taking his hand. She can't take Rosie. You have primary custody. She abandoned her child for over a year. Any judge would see that. But she is Rosie's biological mother. Courts favor mothers. Not mothers who leave sick children. Julian breathed. Let's hear what she has to say, then we'll figure this out. Together. I don't want Rosie to get hurt. Neither do I. We'll protect her. I promise. Saturday came too quickly. Julian drove to the coffee shop with dread sitting heavy in his stomach. Patricia was already there, sitting at a corner table. She looked different. Thinner, older, her blonde hair cut shorter. She smiled nervously when she saw him. Thank you for coming. Julian sat across from her, not returning the smile. Let's make this quick. You look good. Happy. I'm happy. Finally. I heard you got married. To the nanny? To my wife, who has been more of a mother to Rosie than you ever were. Patricia flinched. I deserve that. I deserve your anger. But Julian, I'm here to make amends. To be part of Rosie's life. Why now? Why not 6 months ago? A year ago? I wasn't ready. I needed time to deal with my own issues, my own fear. Seeing Rosie so sick, thinking I might lose her. I couldn't handle it. So I ran. And now that she's better, now that the hard part is over, you want back in? It's not like that. That's exactly what it's like. Julian leaned forward. Do you know what the past year has been like for Rosie? How many times she asked for you? How many nights she cried because her mother left? You broke her heart, Patricia. I know. And I want to fix it. You can't just fix something like that. Trust is earned, not demanded. Patricia pulled out her phone and showed him pictures. Photos of a small apartment, a therapy office, books on parenting. I've been working on myself. I have a good therapist. I joined a support group for parents of kids with cancer. I'm ready to be the mother Rosie deserves. She already has that. Tanya has been there through every doctor's appointment, every hard day, every triumph. Rosie calls her mom now. She's happy. I'm not trying to replace anyone. I just want to know my daughter. Supervised visits, that's all I'm asking. An hour here and there. Let me prove I've changed. Julian studied her face, looking for deception. All he saw was regret and genuine sadness. I need to talk to Tanya. And Rosie's therapist. I'm not making any decisions without their input. That's fair. Thank you, Julian. Really? On the drive home, Julian called Tanya. Can you get Rosie's therapist on the phone? We need professional advice. That afternoon, they had a conference call with Dr. Sarah Wilson, Rosie's child psychologist. Julian explained the situation while Tanya listened on speakerphone. My professional opinion? Dr. Wilson said carefully. Children benefit from having relationships with both parents when possible. But only if those relationships are healthy and stable. If Patricia has genuinely worked on her issues, supervised visitation might actually help Rosie with her abandonment trauma. What if she leaves again? Tanya asked. That's a valid concern. Which is why I recommend starting very slowly. Short visits, highly supervised. We monitor Rosie's emotional state closely. At the first sign of distress or if Patricia shows any instability, we stop immediately. And what about Rosie? Julian asked. Does she even want to see Patricia? That's the question we need to ask her. Carefully, without pressure either way. That night, after Tyler was asleep, Julian and Tanya sat Rosie down in the living room. She looked between them, confused. Am I in trouble? No, sweetie, Tanya assured her. We just need to talk to you about something. Your mom called, Julian said gently. Your biological mom, Patricia. She wants to see you. Rosie's face went pale. Why? She says she's sorry for leaving. That she wants to be part of your life again. Is she going to take me away from you? Rosie's voice was small and scared. No, both parents said at once. Julian pulled Rosie into his lap. No one is taking you anywhere. You live here with us. That's not changing. But if you want to see her for short visits, that could be arranged. Do I have to? Absolutely not, Tanya said firmly. This is your choice, Rosie. Only yours. Rosie was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I don't know. I'm mad at her for leaving. But I sometimes wonder if she misses me. She probably does, Julian said. But that doesn't mean you owe her anything. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. 3 days later, Rosie came to Tanya while she was making breakfast. I think I want to see her. Just once. To ask her why she left. Tanya's heart ached for this brave little girl. Okay, sweetie. We'll arrange it. The visit was set up for the following Saturday at a family therapy center with Dr. Wilson present. Patricia would have 1 hour with Rosie in a comfortable room while Julian and Tanya waited nearby. The morning of the visit, Rosie was quiet. She picked at her breakfast and changed her outfit 3 times. I'm scared, she admitted to Tanya. That's okay. You're allowed to be scared. But remember, Daddy and I will be right there. If you want to leave at any time, just say the word. At the therapy center, Patricia was already there. When Rosie walked in holding Julian's hand, Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Hi, baby. Rosie didn't respond. Dr. Wilson intervened gently. Patricia, why don't you tell Rosie why you asked to see her? I wanted to tell you I'm sorry. For leaving. For not being there when you were sick. It was the worst thing I've ever done. Why did you go? Rosie asked, her voice barely a whisper. Because I was scared. When the doctor said you had cancer, I got so afraid that I couldn't think straight. I thought if I left, if I didn't watch you get sicker, it wouldn't hurt so much if... She couldn't finish the sentence. If I died, Rosie finished. You thought I would die. I was terrified of that. But that's no excuse. You needed me and I ran away. That was selfish and wrong. It was, Rosie agreed. I cried for you. Every night. Daddy said you were coming back, but you didn't. Patricia sobbed. I know. I'm so sorry. They talked for the full hour. Rosie asked hard questions and Patricia answered honestly. She didn't make excuses or try to blame anyone else. She took full responsibility. When the hour was up, Rosie stood to leave. Patricia reached for her, then stopped. Can I hug you goodbye? Rosie hesitated, then nodded. They hugged briefly, awkwardly. In the car on the way home, Rosie was quiet. Finally, she said, I don't hate her anymore. That's good, Julian said. But I don't want to see her all the time. Just sometimes. Is that okay? That's perfectly okay. Over the next months, Patricia visited once every 2 weeks, always supervised. She showed up consistently, never canceling, always prepared with activities Rosie enjoyed. She asked about school, about friends, about Tyler and Tanya. She never tried to undermine Julian and Tanya's role as parents. She accepted her place as someone in Rosie's life, but not the center of it. At a visit in March, Patricia brought Rosie a gift. A photo album of Rosie as a baby before the divorce, when Patricia had been present and loving. I wanted you to know that I loved you from the moment you were born. That the time we had together was real and good. I messed up later, but those early years, those were beautiful. Rosie looked through the photos, seeing herself as a chubby baby in Patricia's arms, as a toddler being pushed on a swing by her smiling mother. Thank you, Rosie said softly. One evening after a visit, Julian and Tanya talked in their bedroom. I think she really has changed, Julian admitted. She's consistent, respectful, genuinely trying. I agree. And Rosie seems okay with it. Not stressed or upset. I still don't fully trust her. But I think this is working. It is. And Rosie is learning that people can make mistakes and try to do better. That's a valuable lesson. They held each other, grateful that this situation, which could have torn their family apart, was instead teaching them all about forgiveness and growth. Patricia would never be Rosie's primary mother. That role belonged to Tanya now, earned through countless bedtime stories, doctor visits, homework help, and unconditional love. But Patricia could be part of Rosie's life in a healthy, bounded way. And that, Tanya realized, was okay. Love wasn't a competition. There was room for everyone who genuinely cared about Rosie's well-being. One Saturday, after dropping Rosie off for a visit with Patricia, Julian turned to Tanya in the car. Thank you for handling this so gracefully. For not being jealous or territorial. Rosie's happiness is what matters. If having a relationship with Patricia makes her happy, I'm okay with it. You're amazing, you know that? I learned from the best. She squeezed his hand. You could have shut Patricia out completely. You had every right to. But you put Rosie's needs first. That's real love. They drove home to find Tyler in the backyard, reading in the sunshine. Their home. Their family. Imperfect and unconventional, but filled with love. And really, what more could anyone ask for? The months flew by in a blur of happiness. Spring arrived, then summer, then fall. Rosie's 6-month checkup showed continued remission. Tyler excelled in school, making honor roll and joining the science club. Tanya got promoted at work to a senior nurse position. Julian's business thrived. They were happy. Deeply, genuinely happy. As December approached, Julian became secretive. He'd disappear for hours, claiming work meetings. He'd hide his phone screen when Tanya walked by. He'd smile mysteriously when she asked questions. What are you up to? She asked one evening, catching him on the phone in his office, speaking in hushed tones. Nothing. Just work stuff. You're a terrible liar. Am I? He pulled her onto his lap. Maybe I'm planning something special. Like what? If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise. The first snow fell on December 10th. Light flakes that dusted the ground and made the city look magical. Julian insisted they all go for a walk that evening, bundled in coats and scarves. They walked through their neighborhood, looking at holiday lights, throwing snowballs, laughing. Eventually, they ended up at a small park a few blocks away. And there, on a bench covered in snow, Julian stopped. This is it, he said softly. Tanya looked around, confused. This is what? The bench? From that night. Understanding dawned. This is where we met? Where I found you crying? Exactly 1 year ago today. December 10th. The anniversary of Rosie's diagnosis, and the night that changed our lives. Tanya sat on the bench, brushing snow aside. Tyler and Rosie stood nearby, both grinning like they knew something. A year ago I was sitting right here holding Rosie's pink mitten, crying my eyes out. I thought my life was over. I thought I'd always be alone, always be scared. Julian? Let me finish. He knelt in the snow in front of her. From his pocket he pulled out a small box. Not a ring box. Something different. I already asked you to marry me. You already said yes. But I wanted to do this here on this spot. To honor where we started. He opened the box. Inside were 2 necklaces, matching silver chains with infinity symbols. These represent forever. The forever we promised each other. But more than that, they represent the family we've built. You, me, Tyler, Rosie. Forever intertwined. Tanya was crying too hard to speak. Tanya Pierce, you saved my life. You took 2 broken people and helped make us whole. You loved my daughter when her own mother couldn't. You trusted me with your son. You built a home with me. I will spend every day of my life proving that I'm worthy of you. You already have, she managed. Every single day. Julian put 1 necklace around Tanya's neck, then 1 around his own. Then he gestured to the kids who came bounding over. From his other pocket he pulled out 2 more boxes. Smaller necklaces, child-sized, with the same infinity symbols. Rosie, Tyler, you're part of this forever too. We're all in this together. Forever and ever. Both kids tackled him with hugs. All 4 of them ended up in a pile in the snow, laughing and crying and holding each other. Wait, there's more, Julian said. He stood and helped Tanya up. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an envelope. I know how hard you work at the hospital. How much you love nursing. But I also know you've always wanted to do more. So I enrolled you in a nurse practitioner program at the university. It starts in January. Full tuition paid. Tanya's hand flew to her mouth. What? You're brilliant, Tanya. You deserve every opportunity to grow and learn. This is my way of saying I believe in you. That I support your dreams, not just mine. Julian, that's too much. It's not. It's exactly enough. Say yes. Say you'll do it. Yes. Of course yes. They kissed in the snow while the kids cheered. All around them, snow fell gently, covering the park in white magic. There's one more thing, Julian said, pulling another envelope from his pocket. For Tyler. Tyler took it, looking confused. Inside was a certificate for a summer space camp at the Science Museum. For real? Tyler breathed. Space camp? For a whole week. For real. You've been talking about astronauts nonstop. Time to get some hands-on experience. Tyler hugged Julian fiercely. Thank you, Dad. Thank you so much. And for Rosie, Julian said, turning to his daughter, I set up a college fund. When you graduate high school, you'll have enough to go anywhere you want, study anything you dream of. Your cancer tried to steal your future. We're making sure you have the best one possible. Rosie started crying happy tears. I love you, Daddy. I love you so much. I love you too, Rosebud. More than the whole universe. They walked home through the falling snow, a family of 4, bound by love and choice and commitment. The house was warm when they got back, decorated for the holidays with a tree in the corner and stockings hanging on the mantel. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, Julian and Tanya stood in their bedroom, looking out at the snow. A year, Tanya said softly. 1 year since that night. Best year of my life. Mine too. Julian turned her to face him. I want to make a promise to you right now. I will never take you for granted. I will never stop being grateful that you stopped at that bench. I will love you and Tyler with everything I have, for the rest of my life. I promise the same. To love you and Rosie with all my heart. To build this family with you. To face whatever comes together. They sealed their promises with a kiss, deep and true and full of forever. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the city in quiet white. Somewhere across town, that bench sat empty, waiting for the next person who needed a place to cry, the next stranger who might stop and care. But Julian and Tanya were home now. They'd found their place, their people, their purpose. In the months that followed, Tanya would start her nurse practitioner program and excel. Tyler would go to space camp and discover a passion for engineering. Rosie would remain in remission, growing stronger every day. Julian would expand his business but always make time for family dinners and homework help and bedtime stories. They would have hard days because life always has hard days. But they would face them together, this family of 4, bound by love stronger than blood. And on every December 10th they would return to that bench. They would sit in the snow and remember how it all began. How 2 broken strangers showed each other kindness. How hope and love could rebuild shattered lives. They would remember that the worst nights can lead to the best futures. They would remember that family isn't just about biology. It's about who shows up, who stays, who chooses you every single day. And they would be grateful, so deeply grateful, for the snowstorm that brought them together. For the love that made them whole. For the forever they built together. 3 months after that perfect night at the bench, the Pierce family stood in front of a new house. Not Julian's house that Tanya and Tyler had moved into. A house they had chosen together, all 4 of them. "This is it?" Tyler asked, eyes wide. "This is it," Julian confirmed. "What do you think?" The house was a sprawling 1-story ranch in a quiet neighborhood with excellent schools. It had 5 bedrooms, a huge backyard, and a sunroom that Tanya had fallen in love with the moment she saw it. "It's perfect," Rosie breathed. They had talked about it for months. Julian's house held too many memories of difficult times. Patricia's presence, her abandonment, the early days of Rosie's illness. While they created new, happy memories there, they all agreed that a fresh start would be good. This house represented their future. Their family. No ghosts of the past, just possibility. "Can I really paint my room space-themed?" Tyler asked for the 100th time. "Any way you want it," Julian assured him. "And I can have purple everything?" Rosie added. "Every shade of purple in existence," Tanya laughed. They moved in over a sunny March weekend. Julian hired movers for the heavy furniture, but they packed and unpacked together as a family. Tyler's room became a tribute to the cosmos, with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling and posters of planets on the walls. Rosie's room turned into a purple paradise, complete with lavender curtains and amethyst accents. The master bedroom that Julian and Tanya would share had huge windows overlooking the backyard. Tanya couldn't stop smiling as she arranged their things. "Happy?" Julian asked, coming up behind her and wrapping his arms around her waist. Deliriously. "Me too." The spare bedroom became a study, with desk space for Tanya's schoolwork and Julian's business projects. The sunroom became a family space, with comfortable chairs and bookshelves and a view of the garden. They planted flowers that spring, all 4 of them digging in the dirt, laughing when Rosie got soil on her nose. They hung a swing from the big oak tree in the backyard. They set up a vegetable garden that Tyler insisted on documenting for his science class. Tanya's nurse practitioner program was challenging but rewarding. She studied late into the night, and Julian would bring her coffee and encouragement. Tyler and Rosie learned to be quiet during study time, doing their homework alongside her. "We're study buddies," Rosie announced. "Right, Tanya?" Tanya still felt a thrill every time Rosie called her by name, comfortable and loving, no longer questioning her place in their lives. Tyler's passion for space grew. He built model rockets, wrote reports on Mars colonization, and started talking about becoming an engineer. Julian enrolled him in a robotics club and attended every competition, cheering louder than anyone. Rosie's 8-month checkup showed continued perfect health. Dr. Martinez was thrilled with her progress. "If she stays like this, we'll move to yearly checkups after the 2-year mark," the doctor said. "She's beating this thing." In the car after the appointment, Rosie was quiet. "You okay, sweetie?" Tanya asked. "I'm happy. But also, I was thinking about other kids. Kids who are sick like I was. Who don't have people to help them." "That's very thoughtful of you," Julian said. "Can we do something to help them?" That night, the family had a serious discussion. Rosie wanted to raise money for childhood cancer research. Tyler wanted to help. Julian and Tanya were immediately on board. "What if we do a fundraiser?" Tyler suggested. "Like a big party where people donate? Or a run?" Julian added. "A charity 5K? They decided on both. The Pierce family would host an annual charity event, with all proceeds going to pediatric cancer research in Rosie's name. Planning the event took months. They recruited volunteers, found sponsors, created a website. Tyler designed t-shirts. Rosie made promotional videos that went viral on social media. Julian used his business connections to drum up support. Tanya coordinated with the hospital to make sure everything was legitimate and effective. The first annual Rosie's Run happened in June, a beautiful sunny morning perfect for running. Over 500 people showed up, including Rosie's school friends, Julian's business associates, Tanya's nursing colleagues, and even Patricia, who donated generously and volunteered at the water station. Rosie, wearing a purple t-shirt that said, Survivor, across the front, stood at the starting line with her family. Ready? Julian asked. Ready, they all answered. They ran together, all four of them, crossing the finish line hand in hand. The crowd cheered. News cameras captured the moment. By the end of the day, they had raised over $50,000 for childhood cancer research. We did this, Rosie said, looking at the total on the big display board. We really help people. You did this, Julian corrected. This was your idea, your heart. We just helped you make it happen. That night, exhausted but happy, they ordered pizza and collapsed on the living room floor. This was the best day, Tyler announced. Agreed, Rosie said. Julian looked at his family, sprawled across the floor, tomato sauce on their faces, completely content. You know what I'm grateful for? What? They all asked. Second chances. The universe gave me a second chance that night in the snow. A chance to build something beautiful from something broken. The universe gave us all second chances, Tanya added. Tyler and I got a real home. Rosie got healthy. We all found each other. To second chances, Tyler said, raising his juice box. They all clinked their drinks together, laughing. As summer faded into fall, life continued its beautiful rhythm. Tanya graduated from her nurse practitioner program with honors. Julian threw her a surprise party with all their friends and family. She cried happy tears and gave a speech about how grateful she was for everyone's support. Especially my family, she said, looking at Julian, Tyler, and Rosie. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. You gave me the space and support to grow. I love you all so much. With her new degree, Tanya got a job at a pediatric clinic, helping families navigate childhood illnesses. She thought of her own journey often, how scared she'd been when Tyler was young and got sick, how alone she'd felt. Now she could help other parents through their fear. Tyler started middle school that fall, joining the advanced science track. He made new friends, kids who loved space and math and building things. He no longer struggled socially, no longer felt like an outsider. He'd found his people. Rosie continued to thrive. Her hair grew back completely, thick and blonde and beautiful. She joined the school choir and discovered she loved singing. She performed in the winter concert, a solo that brought the whole audience to tears, including her family in the front row. On December 10th, 2 years after that fateful night, the Pierce family returned to the bench. It had become their tradition, this annual pilgrimage to where it all began. They brought hot chocolate and cookies. They sat together on the bench, bundled in coats, watching the snow fall just like it had that first night. 2 years, Julian said. Can you believe it? Best 2 years of my life, Tanya replied. Mine too, Tyler added. Mine 3, Rosie joked. They laughed, their breath forming clouds in the cold air. Julian pulled out a small notebook. I thought we could each write down something we're grateful for. Then we'll keep it and read it next year. They passed the notebook around. Tyler wrote about his new friends and space camp. Rosie wrote about being healthy and singing. Tanya wrote about her degree and her job and her family. Julian wrote about love and second chances and finding his people. As they walked home through the snow, Tanya thought about how much had changed. 2 years ago, she'd been broke and alone, standing outside a restaurant in the snow, humiliated and heartbroken. She'd had nothing but Tyler and hope. Now she had everything. A career she loved, a home that was truly hers, children who called her mom, a husband who loved her with his whole heart. What are you thinking about? Julian asked, taking her hand. How grateful I am. For that snowstorm. For your daughter's lost mitten. For being brave enough to sit beside a crying stranger. I'm grateful you stopped. That you cared. That you gave us a chance. They watched the kids run ahead, throwing snowballs at each other, laughing with pure joy. We made something beautiful, Tanya said softly. We did, Julian agreed. And we're just getting started. That night, after tucking both kids into bed, Julian and Tanya stood in their bedroom, looking out at the snow-covered yard. Tanya wore her infinity necklace, the one Julian had given her at the bench. Julian wore his matching one. 2 symbols of forever bound together. I love you, Julian said. More every day. I love you too. Thank you for changing my life. Thank you for changing mine. They held each other, grateful and content and home. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the world in white. Somewhere in the city, people were struggling, people were alone, people were crying on benches in the cold. Somewhere, lives were falling apart and coming together and transforming in ways nobody could predict. But here in this house, in this family, there was love. There was hope. There was kindness that had built something lasting. There was everything that mattered. And as they fell asleep in each other's arms, both Julian and Tanya knew with absolute certainty that they were exactly where they were supposed to be. With the people they were supposed to be with. Living the life they were always meant to live. Together. Forever. Oh.